Hello. Welcome to episode 8, I think. I believe this is episode 8. And I am in a very special place today. I have fallen in love once again. It's like when you're married for 50 years and you see your partner anew. It's a new love when you see them in the present moment, just as they are, not as a young schoolgirl or graduate student or young professional, or in the Hollywood sense of that in love when the hormones are flying. Today, I've fallen in love with A Course in Miracles, seeing the non-duality and the elegant truth of what it is. Next year, I'll be married in this body for almost 50 years. And I've been a Course in Miracles student nearly as I can remember for about 35 years. And I've been exposed to non-duality for maybe 25 years. And today it comes together as one. Love is love. When we're not distracted by the body or personal love, which is always conditional. When it involves the body, we're not always aware of it. Sometimes we are when we're judging the body's size. Almost always, if one is into that, it's never good enough. It might be better, it might be less judged, but it's never there. And there, in spiritual terms, is when it's gone. Now, I have to say that most of my life, that would have made no sense to me. I would have listened to what I just said. And I would like, that's a concept. That's a concept. But every single day, we don't notice it. But there are periods when we're staring into space, when we're just zoned out. And notice those words, it kind of has a derogatory meaning, like we're not being present. But there are moments like the space between inhalation and exhalation, the moments that we don't notice when our thoughts have disappeared, or the space between one thought and the next, the space between one feeling and the next. The space after we've noticed when we were really hungry and we had just the right amount of food and we're calm and our bodies are sated, not stuffed, because that brings on other issues and other feelings and other sensations, but just the right amount of food and just the right kind of food. And equilibrium arises. That space is present, as I often mention, when we're driving our car and we didn't remember driving it, or when we go to sleep at night before we've fallen asleep, and when we're not quite asleep, but we're not awake. Of course, if meditation is what that definition often describes. When we've let the thoughts and feelings disappear, there is that space. But often for most people, meditation involves the local awareness judging how the thoughts are still happening and the mind is still busy. And in the non-dual, I love it because we're not trying for it to be anything else. Everything in life in the non-dual is accepted in a wide open stance. And that way it fits with neuroscience, that in 90 seconds, it's passed through the brain. But if we judge whatever is, then we're adding paragraphs to that 90 seconds and it keeps continuing. And that's what we think of when we think of the mind that keeps going. So I mentioned that I've fallen in love today. And I was looking up chapter 18 in the text of A Course in Miracles, because I really wanted to see what it said again about I need do nothing. And that's one of my favorite mantras or prompts or suggestions or openings or bridges, because it's so brilliant, but so often misunderstood. First of all, we take it to be the I, the body. Not at all. That's not what's meant. And then we take it to be doing. Oh, okay. Well, then I'll just stay on the couch and not do anything. Well, we know that that's not possible. You will do something next. The question is, what and who is leading the doing for all of us? Not just when we choose. We think in earlier sections of the Course, it says, choose again. And it describes the ego and the higher self, the Holy Spirit. And it guides us to go with spirit. But that's just a way for the Course to meet us where we begin and start to notice all our attack thoughts and the bunch of junk that comes through the mind and our feelings. If there is no body, as the section I'm about to read to you, then there cannot be a separate I. There is no I that we need to get rid of. Now, if we have a nightmare, we become aware of it. It feels real at first. And then we say, oh, that was a nightmare. And if we're in a sweet place, we kind of comfort ourselves and say, oh, that wasn't true. It didn't happen. And then we maybe breathe a little more deeply. And the most important thing is that we enter present time. Present time is everything. If we're not adding paragraphs to thoughts and feelings. Thoughts and feelings are in the past or in the future, and so was that nightmare. So we comfort ourselves and we say, that happened in the dream. It's not going on right now. Those of you who have listened to past episodes know that my awakening happened in a big way when I was suffering over the loss of my precious daughter, Melissa. It was unexpected, and I was big time into past nostalgia. Poor me, poor us, the shock, and also predicting the future. Our lives were over. Our dreams were shattered, and there were no possibilities of happiness again, or peace, or joy. And then I was awakened to present time. In this millisecond, I was made to realize in this second I was not suffering. And that has been my guidepost over and over again. And I keep repeating it in these podcasts and in this radio show and on YouTube, because I want you to use as a template all the times when you've experienced a home, a new home, not the home of your body, but the home of that radical now, where thoughts and feelings, past and future, were gone. And we were in the absence of suffering. We don't really have words for that. So I'll call it things like knowing I was all right. But all right doesn't say it. And it wasn't euphoria, and it wasn't really joy. It was the grace and the expansion of nothingness that was everything. It has no words in the dualistic language, but it is what I always remember to bring me back in present time if I should forget and participate in something like the body. For example, this week, a dermatologist called me after an exam and said that the biopsy she'd done on a little spot on my leg was indeed cancerous. Well, you hear the word cancer. When I heard the word cancer, I contracted. Didn't sound like good news. I certainly didn't feel neutral. But all I have to do is open to the next second, and it's all right. I'm not predicting the future and saying, bring on more cancer. I'm not regretting her diagnosis. I've just entered the I don't know expansion, the welcomeness of the next second. There were moments during the week that I flipped back into a momentary concern because she was going to scrape and burn or do something like that and take out the cells. So I asked my husband, is it going to hurt? And he said whatever he said. And then I took a deep breath and I used my memory of home to bring me back to the next second. And by the time, and it wasn't a doing, It wasn't an I, it was a happening because home is real for me because of what happened to Melissa. I welcome the home where I do not have a body and Melissa doesn't have a body. And we're together in the infinite energy and the power of the quantum field where all is possible and there are no stories. And she is energy and I am energy. And I include in my life all that happens, whether it's a happy meeting when I'm teaching or visiting a friend in her very special play that she performs in as a director. I guess that's not performing, but it is a kind of performance when you hold the cast in your arms and use each being to tell a story. And I'm prompted to say that we could be the directors of our lives just from the knowing that home is where we live. Home is what we desire. Home, this place without suffering, but it also doesn't have the attachments of the perfect body or the experience with your person that you either want to partner with or you are partnered with, or your children or your grandchildren or your animal. It doesn't include any quote unquote special experience or special person. And so I will do another episode on special relationships, but it certainly comes up here. So I is not the personal I. Need do is not the doing in this world. And the nothing is the good news because it will all be done for us. So now I will refer to A Course in Miracles, text chapter 18. And it says, there's one thing that you have never done. You have not utterly forgotten the body. It has perhaps faded at times from your sight, but it has not yet completely disappeared. You are not asked to let this happen for more than an instant. Yet, in this instant, the miracle of atonement happens. And that is what I'm calling home. I had to have that moment repeated many times before I woke up and decided to call that home, not home in this world of daydreams. I'm calling our lives the daydreams. And here's where non-duality gives us a little bit of a little extra understanding. The wisdom is that everything is awareness with the capital A. Everything is consciousness. So the Maya, the play of this world, the daydreams that we believe in, the problems, the challenges, the joys, the attachments, we need not criticize or judge that when we participate with it as though it's not an illusion. That's still part of consciousness. We are supposed to participate with that. That is our lives. But we are asked to come into something more. The Course says in chapter 18 exactly what I said. about the present time that I'm calling the radical now, when we don't add to a thought or a feeling. It says, past and future seem real. Time controls it entirely. It says that our attraction is imaginary. It says that it's impossible to accept the holy instant without reservation, unless just for one instant you are willing to see no past and no future. So just join me right now, if you would. Let's see if we can find a space of no past and no future. And my favorite way, if you've been with me in the past on episodes, is to remember what we came in with when we turned this on. Chances are there was a concern today, something that happened. It could be just a tech problem, doesn't matter whether it's small or large. You could have had a big scare or a little scare or a concern or a little bit of frustration, which the Course would call an attack. The Course does not care if it's small or if it's big. It's on the continuum. And I would like to add that the love that the Course speaks of is not the personal love, the love of your partner or the one you want to have, or your animal, or your grandchildren, or your child, or anything of this world. It's that agape love. It's not really a word we understand from the illusory world, but we can find it in this place you and I are going to go now. So rate your upset, if you would, 0 to 10. 0, no upset. 10, the most you could be upset. Give it a number. And at the end, if I forget, go back to this and see what your number is. Now wiggle your fingertips and open your arms in case they're crossed or doing something else. Open them and keep wiggling your fingertips as though you are open to this instant, this new moment, this new radical now, the space between thoughts and feelings that's just like the space between your inhalation and your exhalation. Now you take your own breath. Inhale really deeply, however it's comfortable for you. And notice you need to find that space because the exhalation doesn't want to happen right away. There's a space you might not have noticed before. And there's another space, the space of eternity, the space beyond the illusory world that you dip into whenever you don't notice. And that's the world of infinite intelligence. It's the place of no time, which is sometimes referred to as eternity. Because if there's no past and no present, except this millisecond that's now. There's also no future. There's only the now and the now and the now and the now. And so even when I talk about it, it's not now. It's that quite fast. It's faster than you can think about it. It's faster than you can feel about it with feelings and emotions. But you know it. There's a knowing that we have all been taught by the collective to disregard. And it's our kind of hypnosis. And that hypnosis keeps us stuck in the illusory world. And that's okay. It's not to be judged. We're not supposed to do anything. And that includes enlightenment. It includes going beyond the illusory world. What if we just let go? Completely let go and allow the nothingness that is not in a space. The nothingness is all space. It has no boundaries, no edges. It's available to everyone. Worthiness and accomplishment are unimportant, irrelevant, because all are included. We can call this space life. Everyone listening to this is aware that you are alive. Aliveness is what you are. You are not unworthiness, and you are not the opposite. You are not your achievements or your progress or your discouragement or your challenges or your body or your illnesses or your sensations or your thoughts. You're everything and nothing. The power that you are, that is unlimited, is not personal. That's the good news. It's the bad news if you're in an ego and trying to be more special. And even that is included if that's where you are. The bad news passes. The good news passes. And we're left with just isness. I would like to go back to A Course in Miracles and say, now you need but to remember you need do nothing. That's chapter 18, paragraph 7. It would be far more profitable to concentrate on this than to consider what you should do. When peace comes at last, the goal is finally achieved by everyone. It always comes with one happy realization. I need do nothing. And with that, I want to remind you that it comes to each of us in its own way and its own time. You do not need time. Time has been saved for you, and it does not involve the body, and it does not involve mind training. Everything is available right here, right now, in this home. So I say adieu to you right now until the next time. Please sign up for my YouTube posts and put a comment. I would love to talk with you and hear how you respond. I thank you for listening. It's been my joy to be with you today. Bye for now.